Two numbers, 9 million and a million. 9 million and a million, all right?
Okay.
This is a riddle.
Dems launch another investigation, believe it or not. Another one. And Church of Planned Parenthood?
You know, he's sitting right next to you, right?
Church of...
Okay.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing? Hey, you guys, thank you for joining us. Pastor Toby, Chuck Knox, I'm the Water Boy, and Pastor Ken Peters in the studio with us. It's good to be with you guys on this crazy ride, Corona ride. If you haven't joined the club, what's wrong with you? Join the club. We got all sorts of good content in the club. You guys gonna help me fill in a little bit?
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Normally, you're kind of laughing a little more, you know. But all right.
I'm still trying to figure out 1 million and 9 million.
I'm stuck at the math.
We didn't even talk about that
and
at
I
all.
hate riddles.
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. This show is brought to you by Logos Online School. It provides a Christ-centered classical education for grades 7 through 12 that's both affordable and accredited. Their mission is to support parents as they raise their children in the nurture and admonition of Jesus. Classes meet online daily, Monday through Thursday, with, of course, outstanding qualified teachers who take a personal interest in your student. Actually, my sister's one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and my new brother-in-law. They just got married.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They teach for
That's
them.
right.
So you should just sign up, just because
They're teaching.
Yeah, it's awesome. And unlike other programs, there are no extra fees for diploma students and honors classes. Registration is now open for fall classes.
And they practice social distancing.
Constantly.
They do constantly.
Wait, aren't they filled
Incredible.
up? Aren't they filled up right now?
Yeah, so this is for the fall.
Right,
They're filled up right now because
Right.
I mean, everything closed down, and then everybody's all like, hey,
Logos Online.
How about online school?
Yeah.
And they had like a few little openings, and then it slammed full. But of course, if you're thinking about the fall, if you realize, hey, I think this is better anyways. I mean, what were you doing with your kids in public school anyways?
What's wrong with you people?
If you need something to fill the gaps, if you realize you need to do this yourself, logosonlineschool.com. It's Christian, it's classical, it's also accredited and affordable.
That's really good. That's really good, Toby.
What do you have in your hand?
So I got this in the mail. I was
Are we in trouble because you got something from the government?
I was reading an ad and you responded to
yeah.
me.
I was like, that's really good, Toby. That's a great
That's what
read.
you say when I was like preaching or something.
That was a great ad read. I got this in the mail yesterday. President Trump's coronavirus guidelines for America.
Oh,
and
Pastor Trump.
Pastor Trump, and I was thinking,
El Jefe.
everybody got Levitical purity laws.
Oh yeah, they do.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not whether but which.
Yeah.
It's not whether but which.
It's either you want God's purity laws or you want, I guess, Trump's purity laws. So anyway,
the Fed's purity laws.
Yeah, even worse.
Dr. Fauci's purity laws.
I have to tell you a story. Steve Dace texted me yesterday a story about Dr. Fauci.
You know, you just said that right there on the show. Like everybody knows.
Yeah, but
sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
Gabe's acting like we just chilling here by ourselves. Yeah.
All right. So
this is a show, we have cameras. And
so on. I just act like I don't have cameras on. Like the Tiger King,
Steve
just walking around.
What is the Tiger King? What is this?
It's a debaucherous Netflix special. That's what it is.
And there's nothing better than debauchery.
Debaucherous.
Right now.
That's not a word, and I approve of it.
I made it.
Yeah.
So what did you get from the press? So what is the president saying?
We're having a hard time getting a news segment, aren't we?
That's it.
I'm trying to figure out what's the president saying.
Whoa, what did he say?
Yeah.
Okay, he said, listen and follow directions of your state and local authorities. If you feel sick, stay home.
That's
don't
the
go to
law
work.
of lesser magistrates.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. If your children are sick, keep them at home. Contact your medical provider. If you are an older person or have serious underlying health conditions, stay at home and away from other people. If someone in your house has tested positive, keep the entire household at home. Work or study from home whenever possible. Avoid social gatherings in groups of more than 10. Avoid eating or drinking at bars and restaurants. Use pickup or delivery options. Avoid discretionary travel, shopping, trips, and social visits. Do not visit nursing homes or retirement homes. Always practice good hygiene. Wash your hands. Avoid touching your face, sneezing, disinfection.
I agree with about half of that.
Coronavirus.gov has its own website now.
Of course it does.
I mean, the nursing homes, I just heard Tom Askell told about a story where a man that he knows, his wife died because he couldn't go visit her.
Yeah.
It just so happens that she eats when he visits.
Oh man.
Otherwise, she doesn't eat.
Right.
So now she died, not because of
Wow.
so Corona basically has killed her, right? Because her husband can't get access to go indirectly, right?
Oh, wow.
And so
Sad.
there's other deaths that are happening that are because of the fallout of Corona. That so that not visiting nursing homes. Look, if you're clean, if you're able to go in there, you haven't test their temperature.
Yeah, I mean,
check the temperature. Are you?
This is what they're doing in places like Singapore.
Yeah, Taiwan too.
You see this? Where I talked about this in the Daily News segment for Friday.
Yep.
And our friend Dale Courtney wrote an op-ed for our daily newspaper about this.
Yeah.
Where he pointed out that in Singapore, shopping malls and everything, businesses are
Their
still
economy
open.
hasn't dropped.
They just have an intense sort of, they're taking everybody's temperatures.
Yep.
Wash their hands. Use a face mask or whatever. And at least they haven't shut everything down.
Right.
All right, I'm tired of kind of looking.
Well, I was going to say, what's
this
crazy is
Tucker
here. Is this what?
Tucker show? Because he's just up there.
I know.
He's just staring at me.
I know. I'm trying to.
And he's
turn
got that like Tucker look.
He does.
It's just like it's just kind of always like that. Like, lost in the headlights. Yeah.
Democrats on Wednesday launched an investigation into the Trump campaign and how he's handling the coronavirus.
So it's just another Wednesday.
It's like another investigation.
Wow.
And Trump was actually complaining about it. He was kind of jabbing him on Friday about it and everything.
Because the Democrats have handled this all perfectly.
Yeah, well, and this is we're going to go through a series of clips here on how they were talking about it back in February.
On March 2nd, this March 2nd,
this is March
Mayor
2nd.
Bill de Blasio tweeted this, quote,
March.
"Since I'm encouraging New Yorkers to go on with your lives, plus get out on the town despite coronavirus, I thought I would offer some suggestions. Here's the first. Through Thursday, go see The Traitor. If The Wire was a true story plus set in Italy, it would be this film." That's right. Go to a movie theater immediately. You must. A week later, de Blasio was still encouraging New Yorkers to live it up and mingle in large groups. On March 11th, which keep in mind was barely 2 weeks ago, de Blasio was still insisting that, quote, if you're not sick, you should be going about your life. That very same day, the NBA announced it was suspending its whole season. Italy was already several days into a national lockdown. But the mayor of one of the world's most crowded cities was telling everyone to carry on as though the Chinese coronavirus was just a racist myth.
March 11th.
Okay, now this
the
is back a
risk
month.
to New Yorkers for coronavirus is low, and that our preparedness as a city is very high. There is no reason not to take the subway, not to take the bus, not to go out to your favorite restaurant, and certainly not to miss the parade next Sunday. I'm going to be there.
Who's that?
Okay, that's the New York Health Commissioner, Dr. Osiris Barbett.
Okay.
So that's the doctor.
That's
of
the beginning of
commissioner,
February. Okay.
February 2nd.
And here's a congressman.
It's very important that we recognize that this holiday and this festival is of tremendous significance for many communities in our state. And it is very important that we ensure that we don't have misinformation. And many in the media have been covering this issue as if it's, a terrible plague that people have to avoid.
So
Let's play this one real
you
quick.
have one more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
But there's really no need to panic and to avoid activities that we always do as New Yorkers. We are a hardy people. As an Asian American, I've been somewhat disturbed, if not outright appalled, at some of the comments or gestures that I have seen. Diseases originate from anywhere or from particular places in the world.
That's Senator John Liu right there.
Okay, that's a senator.
Yeah.
So, did you catch this? That's identity politics.
Yeah, that last video was turning it to this is a racist thing because Trump or a lot of people are calling it the China virus or the Wuhan virus.
Right.
But yeah, I saw video clips back in January of a bunch of all reporters were calling it that.
Right.
CNN, Fox, everybody was.
But this is what happens when you have false gods. That's what this is. There's the false god of diversity.
Yeah, right.
The false god of that there's no differences at all, and that recognizing differences or whatever, or in naming them accurately in truthfulness, that's how somehow holy and good and virtuous, and it drives you right into this freight train.
Well, and you know what they were responding to? So that was February 2nd.
Yeah.
And they were doing that was the
last one.
Chinatown parade or something.
Parade.
It was a parade. And Trump banned travel to China on January 31st.
Oh, so they responded to that.
That I think that's all hidden in the background there. They don't specifically reference it.
And of course, like could a virus like this originate anywhere? Yeah, of course it could.
Spanish flu. Spanish flu.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like any race or any ethnicity or any nation is somehow magically immune. We're all fallen. We're all sinful. Right. Death is in all of us.
Yeah.
So something like that would be racist.
Right.
To say but even then, recognize science actually does tell us that some people are have different proclivities.
Right.
I mean, this is that's one of the glorious things that God's given us in this is he's just busting up all our gods. I mean, some of you have seen the headlines where you've got the New Yorkers running some story that says gender is not binary.
Right.
And then a couple weeks later they're like, why is the Wuhan virus, the coronavirus, killing more men than women?
Oh, you mean this or that?
Wait. You're saying there's
man
men
or woman?
and women?
Corona wiped out 75 different genders.
Yeah, right.
It did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And God wiped out. I mean, that's God doing that with our insanity. With the virus, with all of it. I mean, he's going to town.
The hypocrisy of this, though, is that they really have Trump is at the center of this.
Yeah.
What they really wanted to do was to make fun, mock, and push against Trump. And I think when we had Doug on, this is what he was saying. This is the other third part of the game is playing. And so
we're talking. This is election season.
This is election season. So they're early out pushing up against Trump. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to what he's saying. Right. Everything's going to be fine, guys. We got the facilities and the ability to help everybody here. Yeah. We're not going to look like Italy.
All the way up to March 11th.
And then all of a sudden, it hits. And it's like Trump isn't doing enough to help us out. Trump has not sent the ventilators.
That's
Trump has not given us the military. He's not. All of a sudden, it's all Trump's fault.
Right.
And he was giving them warnings to do things back then that they didn't heed to. Yeah. Now, listen, you can do it and manage this however you want to, but let the blame be where the blame needs to be at.
Absolutely.
Listen, guys, we did the parade. We probably shouldn't have did that. We were wrong about this. That's on us. Please forgive us. But look, we found out this thing is far more serious than we thought it was, and right now we're being overrun.
And
that takes humility.
They came back on and did a press conference and they repented, right?
Yeah, no.
They launched an investigation into Trump. Is what they did.
De Blasio did have another press conference.
Oh,
did
he did,
and he apologized, right?
Oh, let's hear it.
Been instructed that if they see worship services going on, they will go to the officials of that congregation. They'll inform them they need to stop the services and disperse. If that does not happen, they will take additional action up to the point of fines and potentially closing the building permanently.
I'm sorry, did he say
permanently?
Permanently?
Oh, so he didn't.
If you gather for worship,
he didn't apologize for being wrong. He just said, "I'm going to take your church buildings."
Yeah.
So 1 month he says you should go to the theaters, and here's a recommendation.
Right, go to the theaters.
Now
March 11th.
Now, if you gather for worship, there was a story, I didn't actually read it, but I think it was in the New York Times, that said this is what happens when you have evangelicals running the nation.
Right, it was.
Just like Nero.
Yeah. That was the other thing. I just read. I read the story last night of the hospital. What is it? I can't remember the name of the hospital now.
In New York.
In New York, the hospital in New York, and then the Good Samaritan is deciding to come right alongside and say, "Hey, listen, we'll help you guys out and take off your overrun."
Samaritan's Purse.
Samaritan's Purse.
Franklin Graham's.
Thank you. Samaritan's Purse. Franklin Graham's.
They set up in the big park.
But the concern is of what would they do with the homosexuals or people because they consider this to be a hard right group, anti-gay group, and so we don't know. We don't want any discrimination, so we're hesitant and we're watching to see how they operate. And I'm thinking to myself, the hospital that they have right now is named after a Christian organization. It's a Christian organization, Christian name.
Yeah.
And Samaritan's Purse, Christian. Where do you think hospitals came from, you idiot? It wasn't the pagans' idea.
I hear you, man. And the thing is I think the crazy thing is that there are so many people in this country that actually do live in bubbles.
Sure.
Completely insulated bubbles. It's insane.
Yes.
But I think the way that the media and information has flowed, the way it works, I mean, we've even seen this with the social media algorithms. They give you what they think you want.
Right. No, that's right.
And so if they think you want more liberal media or only one conservative media or whatever, that's what they insulate you with.
Yeah.
And so I think there are a lot of liberals in highly insulated liberal elite cities like New York City, like San Francisco, like LA, who actually believe that a Christian hospital or a Christian ministry, if a homosexual is brought in sick, would actually turn them away, which is absolutely false.
Yeah, they have no. And maybe we need to do a better job of reminding people about where Christians.
I think it's the gatekeepers that are not letting the information in. I think there's
no,
gatekeepers,
absolutely.
But I think you're right. I mean, I think we have opportunities to write, and I think Franklin Graham's doing it.
Yeah, I think he is too. But
against the accusations, he's going to be there in the microphone. But of course, whether the media is going to allow that information to get to people or not.
Well, this is the thing. We don't have to wait for that microphone to be passed around.
We don't want their microphone.
We were just talking to Neil about the fact that the Grub truck, a food truck here in our town, live streams their own serving of food to other people, can pay money for the people that they've never met right in front of them to eat. Yeah, and the guy used to spend up to $30,000 watching. We don't need to wait for the media. We have our own media right here in our hands.
Yeah, right. That's true. I mean, that's one of the glories. I mean, we've talked about this before. One of the glories of the internet. And so, I mean, this is the new Roman roads.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Just as God, in His providence, allowed the Roman Empire, wicked Roman Empire, to build roads all over the known world. Why?
So Paul could spread the gospel.
So the gospel could fill the world.
Yeah,
and He's done that right now for us.
Yep.
I mean, here we are in Podunk, Idaho.
Yep, that's right.
And we're talking to people across the world.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why you're listening,
but
I mean, it's true. I mean, God's good in all this. And so while there's all kinds of disinformation going on, God is the Lord of this. Yeah. And the truth is going forth.
Open door that no man can shut.
That's right. Amen.
You just got those little stingers coming in there. We're going to see if you got more than stingers coming up on this next segment, though. I want to see what else you got. Church of Planned Parenthood with Kim Peters coming up next. Thank you, Pastor, for joining us. More Cross Politic in a moment. Somebody get de Blasio on the phone. I want to talk to him.
Americans have been traveling down the health insurance highway for decades. But lately, it's been taking us to places we don't want to go. For Christians, it's hard to know which road to take. Or is it? Samaritan Ministries provides a different direction, a biblical path for their members to pray for each other and share financially in each other's medical needs.
This idea that Samaritan has adopted from the book of Acts should permeate all parts of our lives, not just health sharing. We, as a body of believers, are living out New Testament Christianity. This is what God intended for the church.
Do you believe that you need an insurance company, or do you believe that God will provide your needs? And there are people that you've never met before who are going to pray for you and meet your needs. There's another way.
Looking for a new direction for your health care? Visit us online at SamaritanMinistries.org.
Thanks, Gabe. Ow. Next time, into the mic.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Don't forget, you can get this show, all our past episodes, all the other shows on the network at crosspolitic.com as well as fightlaughfeast.com. Don't forget, we also have an app which you can download at your favorite app store. Just search Fight Laugh Feast or Cross Politic. Download it. You get all our shows.
We make apps great again. You got to do it.
We're going to do it.
The best place.
With us in the studio today is Pastor Ken Peters. He's the founding and senior pastor of Covenant Church. Pastor Ken is
Presbyterian
in Spokane, Washington. Pastor Ken is a third-generation pastor. He's grown up in the church. His calling has taken him around the world as a missionary, worship director, youth pastor, and author. Pastor Ken is married to Valencia, and they were married in 1994.
Hey.
In 1998, Ken and Valencia fulfilled their dream of planting Covenant Church in Spokane. Then in 2008, they planted the Covenant Church campus in Moses Lake, Washington. Together, Ken and Valencia serve the people of Covenant Church as well as the people of Spokane with a heart of passion for seeing lives change through relationship with Jesus Christ. And it's not in the bio, but one of the reasons we got in touch with you is because you started what you called the Church at Planned Parenthood in Spokane.
Church at Planned Parenthood, not the Church of Planned Parenthood.
Okay. So that confused me when I saw it.
Yeah, I was confused.
Why Planned Parenthood got a church?
So, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, guys.
Really, really appreciate it. So talk to us. What is the Church at Planned Parenthood?
Well, that's exactly what it is. It says it's the Church at Planned Parenthood. Our doctrine says that the unborn child is the same in equivalency as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
That's what our doctrine says. But what would we be doing as the Church of Jesus Christ if they were murdering 5-year-olds in a clinic in our city? What would that do to our behavior? Would we be just going on with the business as usual and having church and
you're the problem. You're the problem.
I'm just saying.
Ken's like, I don't know how to handle this right now.
No, that is the problem.
That's how we do it on the show. You go get him.
But man, that's honesty right there. That's repentance, because the fact is the church is not living like their doctrine says.
Yeah, this is what they did in Israel, right? I mean, in Israel, they really were offering children on altars to Molech.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In Israel.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's incredible.
And Planned Parenthood is the church of the left. I believe that with all my heart.
I was going to say that. It is a church. I mean, you were saying it is. It is a church. It's just a church to a false god.
They worshiping over there.
Yeah, they're worshiping.
Yeah. That's why if you touch it, they go nuts. They go berserk. If you touch Planned Parenthood, that is their temple. And that's where they offer children.
So, but you have your own church building. Why did you start a worship service? As I understand, describe actually where your worship service is at Planned Parenthood, and why did you decide to move a worship service over there?
Right. So I had been planning on planting another church. I'm a church planter. And by the providence of God, I had a special speaker come. I didn't know who he was. He came, and his name is Rusty Thomas.
You know Rusty.
Okay, all right.
I know Rusty.
And he works with a guy from Apologia.
Jeff Durbin. We know
Durbin
Jeff.
and all those guys.
And Abortion Now guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those guys are all my friends now. But I didn't know them a year and a half ago. Yeah. So Rusty Thomas with cowboy hat comes in. And preaches at our church. And he was preaching on, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And he went on a little rant. He goes, man, if you know how to preach, get out there and preach to the wall. Man, if you know how to lead worship, get out there and sing, and just get out there to Planned Parenthood. And I thought to myself, that sounds like church. That's what we do at church. Yeah. So I thought, if the gates are defensive, right? So you have to go to the gates. Don't attack you. Yeah. You got to attack gates.
Amen.
And so if the gates of hell are right there at Planned Parenthood, and the church will win, gates of hell won't prevail. We got to take
our battle tools are worship.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we got to take church to the gates and pound on the gates, put pressure on the gates.
Yeah.
So my whole idea was, why just stay within our four walls? Let's take the church right out there to Planned Parenthood and have amazing church services, and let's worship, let's give to the cause, and let's preach the gospel right there at Planned Parenthood, and let's have church. Whatever we do on Sunday morning, let's take the Planned Parenthood and rattle on the gates, and the gates of hell, the Bible says, will not prevail.
How often are you guys doing this?
We're doing it once a month, 45-minute to an hour service once a month. We've invited every church in Spokane. We've had up to 650 people show up to Planned Parenthood, unprecedented, worshiping God, praising God. And I'm telling you, worship is in Scripture was always used in battle, and it would confuse the enemy. You know some of the stories. Yeah. It would confuse the enemy, and that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, we are confusing. They don't know what to do with it. They've never been attacked with music before.
They're singing.
They're scared to death.
But is it on your? Are you on their lawn? Practically where you located?
The city of Spokane was so gracious to us. They built a nice big spot of grass at city property right underneath the windows of this $1 million Planned Parenthood facility.
Wow.
So we're right there on city property.
Incredible.
The pictures
Look at God. Look at God.
Man. Built it just for us, man.
Yeah.
How are they feeling about that now?
Oh, they hate it. They hate it. They hate it. We've been drugged before the city council, and they're trying to quiet us down and shut us up.
Wait. They asked you to come to city council?
Oh man, I've just recently.
Praise God.
I've just recently had a meeting at this table with the mayor, city council members, the chief of police.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because usually if you went in there and tried to talk, listen, we don't have time for you, sir. Yeah. Now all of a sudden they got all kinds of time for you.
Bro, I'm a nobody. I got a church of 200 people. I'm a nobody, and I'm being brought before council.
It's like the book of Acts.
It is.
And this is the thing that Christians so often don't understand, that when you make the right kind of trouble.
Right.
And I mean the right kind of trouble.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
What happens is you get a bigger audience.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Is that Agrippa?
Right, exactly. That's the thing is, in the book of Acts, I've said this a number of times on the show, but just read the book of Acts.
Yeah.
And there's by my count, there are 14 public disturbances in the book of Acts.
Yep.
Riots.
Wow.
Imprisonments, 14 public disturbances. And And 13 of the 14, by my counting, Luke follows up with a statement that says, and the believers were greatly encouraged. Many leading people of the city came to know the Lord.
Yeah.
There were so many baptisms. There were so many, all the way through the book of Acts, because our instinct is to think if there's trouble, then that's bad PR for Jesus.
Or we did something wrong.
And we did something wrong. But it's the other way around.
Yep.
Now, do you need to check your pride? Do you need to check your flesh? Yes. Don't be the wrong kind of troublemaker, a sinful troublemaker.
Right.
But when you're preaching the gospel, you're bringing the right kind of trouble.
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
interesting.
worshiping God, you're bringing the right kind of trouble. And then you get hauled before city council, and they're like, "What is it that you're doing? Why are you doing this?"
What are they charging you with?
They're trying to get me on anything. So it's sound ordinances and stuff, and they've passed a sound ordinance which basically gives us the ability to whisper and no more. The traffic going by is louder than the levels they're allowing us to have. So we're right now at the crux, and of course, with the leftist city council that we have, they passed it right through, and the pro-life mayor signs the bill. Signs the bill. And what's crazy is this has made national news. I've never been on the news in my life till the last year and a half.
Yeah.
But I've been on the news so many times. National news. Even Ben Shapiro talked about it and made a report on it. So it's been unbelievable what God is doing just with singing.
Yeah. That's right.
Bunch of singing Christians.
When I first heard the story, when I saw the story, I immediately thought of Jericho.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
That's maybe the most famous story that everybody knows. But that's how God kicked off the conquest.
Come on.
Right? And so that's not just a one-off deal.
That's good.
It was a sign of how God was going to take the whole land.
Yeah.
Come on.
He took the whole land by them worshiping him.
Yep.
March around the city walls.
Well, I got goosebumps right there because you said it kicked off the conquest.
Exactly
and
right.
That's what I believe the church at Planned Parenthood is. It's the kickoff of the conquest, and we want to see it sweep. We want to attack this child sacrifice with worship.
Yeah. So I posted the clip online because I was really excited. We talked about it on the show a couple months ago?
back, I think. Yeah.
And when I posted it, there was some pushback that I got publicly, and I wanted to talk to you about the guts of how it kind of works. Some of the pushback that I got was that there were modalists that were leading the service.
Not true.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm not a modalist.
Yeah.
I'm leading the service.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And I told my response was, listen, if other people want to be a part of what we're doing, I'm more than happy to welcome them to be a part of what we're doing. But we're going to be an Orthodox service for everything that we're doing, right?
Right. Listen. We have a special speaker every month, so we pretty much bring evangelists in every month. So there's all kinds. We've got Calvinists, we've got Wesleyans, we've got Rusty Thomas as one of our speakers.
He's Reformed. He just doesn't know it.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's on my side, man. I promise you that. He doesn't have a beard.
Oh, that's the mark now.
By the way, beards are becoming illegal because of Corona. You know that, right?
I didn't hear that.
So Corona is eliminating Calvinism. That's what I've heard.
It can try. It wouldn't be the first
But
time.
God is sovereign.
So are you guys? So who you're inviting everybody? So,
we have all kinds of people come.
So would you let a modalist preach there then?
We had a United Pentecostal guy preacher. He's a great friend of mine, but he's a political activist type of guy, and we had him come in for 1 out of 16 services.
Yeah,
and so we have all kinds of folks coming. But I'm running it. It's an Orthodox service. I'm Orthodox.
How do you think through ecumenicism?
Yeah,
and working
very good
for the pro-life cause.
Yeah,
ending abortion. How do you think through that? Because there's a lot. There's some Roman Catholics that have really strong stances.
Yeah,
and some
are more pro-life than evangelicals,
and some don't. There's Mormons that are pro-life. So how do you think through that? As leading this service.
Right. Well, it's evangelical because I'm evangelical. Right. And we don't want to control this movement. We want to let whoever wants to run it in their town do it their way. Now, I'm going to do it my way because I'm who I am. And I'm the one leading it. But my hope is that this would happen all over the country, that you'd have Calvinists, that you'd have Armenians, that you'd have...
Sure, but that's within Orthodoxy though, right? Calvinism, that's within Orthodox for the most part.
Right. And for the most part, Catholics aren't going to do this.
So would you let a Catholic preach it at the...
Nope.
Okay.
No. And you know what? My Orthodox circle is smaller, no offense, or larger, no offense, than the Reformed Orthodox circle. So there's a little bit of a disagreement on who I think is in the circle.
So you would consider a modalist Orthodox?
I would consider a United Pentecostal within the realm of evangelicalism. No, Orthodox by your definition of Orthodox.
No, I just
Orthodox,
defined it.
maybe
though.
not.
Well,
Maybe not.
Modalism.
I don't know.
How they view the
right.
Trinity.
I'm Trinitarian.
Yeah,
just
but
so you know.
is that I'm not really that familiar with that denomination. So is that a Trinitarian denomination?
It is not a Trinitarian. Nope. It's a Pentecostal holiness type of movement, and they believe in a more oneness perspective and God revealing himself in different verses. Basically, the Trinity without a belly button. So connected by an umbilical cord.
But I mean that's not Christian. So I mean that's, you can't actually be a Christian and not believe in the Trinity. I mean that's just
right.
a fact.
I believe that the United Pentecostal people are born again. So whether they're within Orthodox Christianity or not, I know many of them. I grew up with a lot of them.
Yeah, I did too.
I come out of that flow.
I do too.
And my personal opinion is that they're born again.
And here's the thing. So I would say this about
some of them. Anyway. Some of them.
Well, see, and
I don't know about all of them.
Well, I would say something similar though about Roman Catholics. I mean, I think Roman Catholics have a false gospel. If you just preach through what doctrine says, it's false.
Right.
I have also found a number of Roman Catholics who I believe are born again.
Exactly.
Who believe that Jesus died for their sins. And
charismatic Roman Catholics.
That's their only way to the Father.
Yeah.
So I would make that kind of distinction and say, I think because I believe in justification by faith alone,
right.
God, Christ's blood justifies even my sloppy theology.
Right.
So I can have room for people but I don't want to affirm false doctrine.
Right.
And so I would not be comfortable saying that a oneness view is Christian, but I would be fine saying there are people who maybe who think they hold that view.
That was me.
So
that was me. I was a person who was inside one of those churches, which I didn't understand what it was that I was assenting to.
Right.
But when
you
I
were
heard,
born again.
But I was born again.
Exactly.
But at the same time, what I think someone who is a pastor who is teaching the doctrine is different from somebody who's a pupil.
I wouldn't want to make that kind of distinction and say you can come along, and I'm happy to say there are Christians in it. I would just want to be really, really careful, especially if we think about this as the tip of the spear.
Right.
I mean, if we're thinking about the conquest,
right.
we know that if this is going to be a work of God,
right,
it is not going to be disconnected from the truth.
Right.
And I think that's one of the weaknesses sometimes that's happened in what I would call revivalism. So I believe in revival.
Absolutely.
I believe in spirit-wrought revival.
Holy Ghost filled.
But I believe that the Spirit is directly connected to the truth. Right? So we must worship him. The Father seeks worshipers who worship him in spirit and in truth, right? And so that's the only thing that I would want to say is absolutely, I want to link arms with anybody who's born again, anybody who loves Jesus. But that means they have to love the eternal Son of the Father. The one who's eternally begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. That's a triune gospel, and I don't want to water that down because I want to take the gates of hell.
Yeah,
right.
So the other thing that I wanted to ask you about is, okay, you guys are singing. See Christians singing and praising God anywhere, especially
we played that clip on the show.
We played the clip on the show.
Awesome.
One of the clips.
Thank you.
How many psalms are y'all singing out there?
Yeah.
I'm just
How many psalms?
Psalms.
Yeah,
Like
y'all
from the book of Psalms?
Yeah.
You know, the Bible.
Yeah. So we believe that we aren't just exclusive.
Let him answer the question.
You know, we're singing. We try to mix like old hymns,
some hymns,
and maybe a psalm that's put to music, and then we have basically the music that I do in our church.
Okay,
that we do in our church. So, like I said, this isn't a denominational.
No, I just want to offer some suggestions of some psalms and who not to invite. That's all. And I want to support y'all.
He's really easy.
I'm really easy. That's all. That's all. So we offer a few psalms, man. We can get down with some songs.
All right, man. Sounds like a good plan. Come out and sing some.
The Psalms are the war songs of the people of God. I mean, he gave us a whole book. He says, sing these. And then if you want to write some of your own too, that's good.
That sound like Psalms. Yeah. Then I'm with that.
Man.
More with Ken Peters next. So Cross Politics. So we'll start at Psalm 1, and then there's Psalm 2.
Classical Conversations supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview in fellowship with other families. We provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local, like-minded communities across the United States and in several countries, and we train parents who are striving to be great classical educators in the home. For more information and to get connected, please visit our website at classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community.
I'm gonna need some aspirin.
I mean, I like doing it.
Yeah, you're good at it. You're good.
We do it.
You don't need to practice though.
No. Hey, welcome back to Cross Politic on the one and only Fight Laugh Feast Network. Don't forget, you can become a member. You can join. And you get a free T-shirt.
Oh.
Are we going to give Ken a Fight Laugh Feast T-shirt?
Already did. He's already got one
Oh,
of that.
Woo.
If you join, you too can get one, and you get access to all of our content, our portal content.
Yep.
And we've been just loading it up, hours and hours of content.
It's been pretty intense couple weeks.
I mean,
for me and Knox, not for Toby.
Yeah.
Well, he preached on Wednesday.
I'm just
What is
kidding.
this?
It was a joke.
It wasn't funny.
All right.
And as a sheriff's office, we would never impede someone's ability to lean on their religious beliefs as a means of comfort. But practicing those beliefs has to be done safely. Last night, I made a decision to seek an arrest warrant for the pastor of a local church who intentionally and repeatedly chose to disregard the orders set in place by our president, our governor, the CDC, and the Hillsborough County Emergency Policy Group. His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger.
Had he arrested him yet?
No.
In the press conference? Oh, so
what day was this? This was like a week ago. Was it Monday?
It had to be after Sunday.
Yeah. So a week ago.
Before he arrested.
And he's having this press conference, I think, before he's actually arrested or before.
I believe he hasn't arrested him yet.
It's not like done. It's not a done deal yet.
Probably in the process. They're sending people there. Who knows?
But one of the things he says in that statement is that he was breaking the law of the governor,
the president.
Yeah.
Governor and the county. Now, my understanding is actually the only law that he might have been coming up against was the county.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not.
Was that a law?
Well, I don't know. That would be a open question.
Well,
but first of all,
there's
not a law from President Trump.
That's right.
He's given you read earlier at the beginning of the show. He's given us recommendations and encouragements.
We got the card,
which I think we should respect. We should think highly of and consider and apply. Right. But that's not a law.
That's right.
The president can't make laws. Let's just do a
that
little
works?
civics lesson, guys.
Maybe we need to start over from the beginning.
The Congress makes laws. You know that little bill video, you watch it.
Yeah, how to make a bill.
How to make a bill.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, he can't make laws. So he can't break a law. Okay, secondly, the governor hadn't even made a law yet.
That's right.
The governor came out on, was it Wednesday? Or Thursday?
It was after the arrest.
Remember, we got a text from our
friend. It was Wednesday.
From
Jared.
It was
Wednesday.
On the birthday of his little girl.
Yeah.
Hey, Longshores, we love you. And the governor comes down, but the governor, when he actually made a law, accepted churches.
Yes, they were allowed to still worship.
They were
strongly
urged to take precautions and so forth, but they were exempted. So there wasn't a law from the governor that he was even breaking.
No.
But guys, it gets worse. It gets crazy.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the church comes out. The church actually did a bunch of prep work for this.
Yeah.
Gabe, you got that?
Yeah. Actually, I got it.
You just want me to just do the whole segment?
No, I'll do it. I'll take it from there. I didn't. I was going to let you do it, but anyways. So the church prepped for that Sunday service. Right. So they were thinking ahead,
and they were doing this in regards to the county.
Recommendations or
regulations or whatever.
So the church enforced the 6-foot distance between family groups in the auditorium. All the staff wore gloves. Every person who entered the church received hand sanitizer. That's pretty funny. They have some sort of farmers market coffee shop in the lobby, and they required 6-foot distances
between families and groups.
And here's what's crazy. The church spent $100,000 on a hospital-grade purification system to go throughout the church, and it would continuously kind of disinfect, get rid of the infectious microbial reduction that's going on in the air. Yeah. It's amazing.
They spent $100,000
on basically a hospital grade purification system.
So all the precautions were kept.
And they point out the Liberty Council picked them up. We talked about this earlier this week. Yeah. The Liberty Council is representing them legally in all this. And the Liberty Council statement points out that they went actually above and beyond the law. The law itself didn't require all this.
Better than Walmart.
What'd you say now?
Right.
Message.
That's right. And Amazon. Wasn't there an Amazon center in their area too?
Yep. Yeah.
But it said it said that other groups, if they're not specifically listed, try to follow these rules.
Yeah.
And that's what they went above and beyond and did that. But not only that, the pastor now, Pastor Howard Brown.
Rodney Howard Brown.
I got in trouble for calling him Pastor Howard Brown. I did a daily news brief because is he a modalist?
No, he is not a modalist. He's a charismatic.
No. He's not just charismatic. He's crazy charismatic. He's crazy.
He's on the charismatic side of it.
Some charismatics are concerned with Rodney Howard
Brown. One of our
Brown.
listeners on my daily news brief said, "Why are you calling him pastor? He's not a pastor."
You
and
can
I was like,
"Yeah, you got. You can look him up on YouTube. You got laughing in the spirit kind of stuff that's going on there.
Did they bark? Do they do the barking?
They got some barking going on.
They fall out.
Oh yeah, well that's just charismatic. Period.
That party don't stop.
I'm like so Presbyterian. I don't even know.
Oh, bro.
We only raise our hands when we're told.
By police or
no, in the church service. Oh, that's good.
But,
That's funny.
But Mr. Howard Brown, Pastor Howard Brown, I'm fine with calling him a pastor.
Yeah, he's
a pastor.
We should put him on a church discipline. If we did, we wouldn't have this problem right now.
He puts out a statement just a couple days ago, April 2nd.
Is he out by now? Did he get on bail?
He's
out on bail.
He's out on bail.
And he has this statement. He says, as you know, I was arrested on trumped-up charges for conducting a church service on Sunday, March 29th, with Sheriff Chad Chronister claimed in a press conference allegedly violated the Hillsborough County Executive Order that went into effect last Friday, March 27th at 10 p.m. The two charges are second-degree misdemeanors, etc. It says the fanfare and drama that surrounded my arrest was completely unnecessary. A simple phone call informing me that I had been charged with violating the executive order and needed to come to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office would have sufficed. I would have been willing to turn myself in, but was not offered that option. It was it was unnecessary to send law enforcement to my home, and it was unnecessary to hold a press conference even as I was being arrested.
They do that for if you have a warrant. And you have a lawyer, your lawyer will tell you, hey, they're going to put out a warrant for your arrest. Go turn yourself in. It will look good for you when you.
They didn't give him that opportunity.
They didn't give him the opportunity.
He says, before addressing some of the false statements made in the press conference, I want to say that even though the drama and made-for-TV press conference was not appropriate, I do not hold any ill will toward anyone at the press conference, including Sheriff Chronister. I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. In fact, in January of 2020, I had the pleasure of honoring the Hillsborough County law enforcement by presenting a plaque to Sheriff Chronister at the river at Tampa Bay Church. Afterwards, we held an event for our church community, which includes many from the inner city to interact with and build a rapport with our local police and deputies.
He gave the sheriff a plaque back in January?
Just in January.
What? Obviously, the sheriff didn't like it.
I also want to say that I was treated well and with dignity by the deputies and staff at the Hernando County Sheriff's Office who came to my home and walked me through the booking process. That's being a gentleman.
Yeah.
Sheriff Chronister made statements at the press conference that the arrest was conducted at my home because the church has an arsenal of weapons. This is patently false.
What?
The church, like many churches, has had armed off-duty deputies on Sunday to provide protection against anyone who might have ill intentions.
Our church has.
Wait. Time out. What? Who cares if the church has an arsenal of weapons?
They're allowed to, aren't they?
What's the problem with that?
Yeah.
Huh? Who cares?
You get this black man excited here.
I am hot. How is it you don't know that his house doesn't have an arsenal of weapons?
Right. Yeah.
He probably had more there.
The problem was you were not going to arrest somebody's pastor
in the middle of
a service. So don't talk that trash with me, boy.
They wanted one kind of spectacle,
on now,
and not another.
Because and do you think that the deputies are going to be for that too?
Right. No.
I'm sorry. You better.
This is like going to Paul in the middle of the night and saying, "Can you leave town?"
Come on now.
Why don't you go on a town?
Hey, let's have the court case for Jesus at night.
Well, and Paul says, "No, I'm going to wait till morning."
Yep, that's right.
And I'll have you escort me out.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Proper way.
Go ahead. This is you got me. Have mercy.
He says,
you might need some anointing oil for me.
No, it's good. It's good. I got some.
I know you do. That's why I asked. I know you don't got nothing on your person. I'm a little disappointed. Okay.
He says
trying to get you back.
A statement was also made that I was reckless for holding the church service.
Garbage.
With all due respect to Sheriff Chronister, the church went above and beyond the requirements for secular businesses to protect the health and well-being of the people who attended, which we just read about. None of this seems to have been taken into consideration, but appears to be a knee-jerk reaction to hyped-up reports about media who were not in the building at any time. Notice a lot of the stories that
Yeah,
circulated.
you see
about
the
this.
videos.
The stories were of normal church services and big crowds of people.
I saw this on ABC. They said you can see here how all the people are not practicing the 6 foot distance. I was like, yes, because that wasn't the service.
That's service.
Okay.
A statement was also made that we ignored repeated warnings. This is patently untrue! Exclamation point. On Thursday, Sheriff Chronister spoke to some of our staff by speakerphone. I was also present. After we told Sheriff Chronister that we were enforcing 6 foot social distancing, had installed over $100,000 of high-grade hospital air purifiers, and were taking other actions to protect the health of anyone who attended, he said the church could operate on Sunday, and that he had no intention to close the church or arrest anyone. The order of the county then became effective on Friday night at 10 p.m. On Saturday, we prepared our building and our staff and ushers to take all possible reasonable precautions. On Sunday, we held our usual meeting with the precautions listed below in place. At no time before or during the service did we receive any warnings from the sheriff or any other official.
This is, I mean, if all that is true, that's pretty unbelievable.
If that's true, then you have the sheriff lying. Just straight up lying. I mean, somebody's not telling the truth here.
Yeah.
Well,
and
what do you do with that law of lesser magistrate? If the sheriff's lying, what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, and part of that, let's say that he's, go ahead.
One last thing really quick. It says the March 27 Safer at Home order contains in paragraph 3, 42 subparagraphs of exceptions, including, quote, religious personnel. Following this long list of exceptions in paragraph 5, the order adds another huge exception. Businesses which are not described in paragraph 3 and are able to maintain the required physical distancing, 6 feet, may operate. In other words, any business that is not in the long list of specific exceptions is also exempted if it is able to comply with the 6 feet separation between people. In such case, there is no limit on the number of people who can be present. And the point to note here is somebody say, well, it doesn't say churches. Well, but the problem is that if you have businesses allowed to use these principles
and exceptions,
with exceptions for them, but churches aren't included, you have an
arbitrary.
It's an arbitrary law. It's discriminating against religious gatherings rather than treating all gatherings the same.
And shouldn't religious organizations have it even better because of the First Amendment?
Exactly.
You know, the thing that bothers me about this, there's so much. Has so many implications all the way around. But the real thing that bothers me about this is the conversation that people have about the Old Testament and the law of God, because they are always saying, well, we don't use that, we don't need that. It's old time. That's back in that time, that covenant for those people. And then we get the law of Levitical code from the government, and then they get all upset. And I'm really bothered because if we had a biblical law to say, well, how should we be dealing with quarantines? Yeah, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Right. Yeah.
If we said, you know what, I bet the Bible has something to say about how we need to practice separation and you know, viruses and stuff like that. I wonder if there's anything like that in the Bible. How'd they do that?
Is there anything about leprosy in the Bible?
Yeah, because people act like that we can't have that without then going to sacrifice an animal in the temple.
It's true. Yeah.
You know, and it's driving me nuts. It's like, so do you like what you have now?
Is all scripture inspired by God?
Right.
Is it useful?
Do you like the
for
sheriff's
teaching and correcting and admonishing?
There's principles in the Bible.
That's right. Do you like the sheriff's Levitical code? Is it working out well for you right now?
Right.
Do you like de Blasio's code right now, Levitical code? Do you like the mayor of California right now who's going to shut down your business and run water?
One of the glorious things.
LA mayor,
I agree.
I love the lack of freedom. The lack of freedom is wonderful.
You're going to get a Levitical code, people.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. And the other thing is that I'm completely agreement with you. I love also the fact that what this moment is doing is giving us a wonderful, wonderful lesson on Romans 13.
Amen.
So everybody wants to quote Romans 13, and I love Romans 13.
Because it's in the Bible, people.
It's been littered on my Facebook
like
the last
love
week.
Romans
We like
13.
But Jesus was arrested. John the Baptist was arrested.
Yep.
Paul was arrested.
Yep.
Stephen was arrested. Maybe they didn't read Romans 13.
Well, maybe it wasn't written yet.
That's the problem.
That's exactly right. The other thing that we have to recognize, though, is that Romans 13 doesn't explain to you then how do you do that in your context? And in order to do that, you have to draw on the rest of the Bible.
Scripture.
Amen.
And so Romans 13, I put this on Facebook recently, but Romans 13 is actually rooted in the 5th commandment. Honor your father and mother. That's the commandment in the 10 commandments that requires us to honor authorities.
That's right.
And we begin with your own father and mother. That your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God has given you. You honor your parents, and that's the establishment of honoring other magistrates, pastors and elders, city officials, county officials, state officials, and federal law.
And Paul says honor kings.
And that's, First Peter. Peter says the same thing. All those in authority. Now, the glorious thing about this moment that God's given us. I mean, this is a teaching moment.
Absolutely.
God's given us a big spank right now.
Yeah.
He disciplines the children that he loves. And he's saying, wake up. Listen, are you paying attention? And what that means, though, is we have to look at all these authorities. And what happens when you have a county authority telling you one thing, and a state authority telling you another thing,
and a president telling you another thing,
and the Constitution telling you
another
another thing.
Thing.
About that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. In a constitutional republic, the highest authority of our land under God is the Constitution.
That's right.
Yep.
And then it's your state constitution.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We are a constitutional republic. Lex Rex.
Real quick, and to interrupt, shouldn't it be the state constitution be the highest, and then because the states ratified?
I didn't say which one was highest.
Okay.
I just say that both are.
Yeah.
But the way that depending on how you
they work
understand,
together.
Yeah.
Depending
because
on how
the states ratified.
Originally,
Can we think like states like mom and dad kind of?
Originally, the 10th Amendment said that if it's not covered in the Constitution,
then the state is
states
the
retain
highest.
it.
Yeah.
We had a little bump in the 1860s, and it just got kind of messed up. But that's the thing. I mean, I just think Christians need to think through this. And yes, do we need to honor them all? Yes. When Paul went off on one of the priests and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were the high priest." Peter and Paul, when they stood before the officials, they were respectful.
Absolutely.
And so on.
Because they knew they had real
and what
authority.
about the separation of church and state?
Well,
I mean, they use it when it's convenient for them, but they have no problem interfering with church.
Right.
Yeah.
Sheriff coming and arresting.
The other thing about Romans 13 that people seem to lose in the conversation, they get the one side of it of that you're supposed to submit to the authorities ahead of you, but those authorities actually have a submission themselves because the Bible considers them deacons. Right? They are deacons of God, and deacons have a standard by which they're supposed to operate.
Right.
Yep.
So if they are outside of their operation, there is a point where it's like, okay, hold on now, you have authority that we want to respect. This is why the show we did with Doug, was it Thursday? Yeah. Was real or Wednesday? Wednesday was. You need to go back and listen to it. It was so good because what he did was he didn't remove the authorities that are there. There are real authorities that we really need to submit to.
Right.
There is a point when authorities overreach.
Right.
And when that overreach happens, it's like, wait, who are you and what is your job? Oh, you're a deacon. You're supposed to submit to God's law too.
Right.
That's why murdering babies is wrong.
Well, and another way of saying that is no authority is absolute.
That's right. Every time in the Bible, every time in the New Testament where it says honor or obey, it almost always says in the Lord.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Wives, submit to your husband in the Lord, as to Christ, right? As the church does to Christ. Parents or children, obey your parents in the Lord. Servants, serve your masters. I mean, he's talking even slaves to masters.
It's no different for government.
As
the Lord,
as serving Christ, not as man pleasers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so all of that is included. Whenever you see that in the Lord, it's a protection. Which means that sometimes if you're not sure what to do, you can obey those over you.
Yeah,
and you can trust that it's in the Lord.
So if the government says take the mark, what do you do?
Take the mark
Of the beast.
of the beast.
Yeah, of the beast. Of the beast. Yeah.
They're Presbyterians through and through. They have no idea.
Because Nero was the mark of the beast. So that was a long time ago.
That already happened.
That was a long time ago.
But you know what I'm saying?
The answer is
you don't take the
answer
mark.
is no.
No, you're right.
The answer
You're
is
right.
no.
You don't do
Right?
that.
We must obey God rather
because
than man.
they shouldn't be putting a mark on you anyway. You belong to God. Your mark is baptism. Did I say that? I did.
Come on.
I did.
You already had the mark. They can't own you.
We're already marked by God.
That's right. You belong to God, so you can't do that. But that's again,
render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render God to what is God's is actually revolutionary.
Imagine that.
Right? I mean, it's whose image is on it?
Yeah.
Caesar's. Well, then give it to Caesar if he wants it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Whose image are on you?
Whose image do you bear?
Yeah.
Then you render yourself unto God.
Yeah.
And
but that doesn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And again, this is not disregarding
The authority.
This is not disregarding health authorities. This is not disregarding government authority. It's not just saying you can do whatever. Christians are not anarchists.
No.
We believe in authority. It's a good and glorious thing. But you can't just say Romans 13 and then just go along with whoever has the loudest voice or the biggest mic.
You know, and so this is why on that show Wednesday, Pastor Wilson said, hey, so let's talk about government schools. Because the problem is we are not educated well enough to know where those lines are and who's supposed to be doing what, or how to decipher what authorities are supposed to be where.
If you've been rendering your children to Caesar,
guess what? They can't think through this.
For 18 years,
Yeah.
right? Why don't they belong to Caesar?
Yeah,
you just
that's right.
You gave them to Caesar.
That's
you
our
sent them
problem
to
with Romans
Caesar
13
every
right
year,
there.
and you said, you can disciple my children.
That's right.
And why would they not belong to him?
Well, I think at the root of all these, even Christians who are saying Romans 13 or the sheriff, this kind of stuff is at the root of all this is actually responsibility. Yeah. The law of lesser magistrates, the whole point of that is you take responsibility. Yeah. Adam and Eve in the garden, that was actually one of the fundamental problems in chapter 3. It was abdication. God came into the garden, they sinned against God, and God said, Adam, what happened? Yeah. But the woman, Eve said Satan, and which is if I'm not taking responsibility before that sheriff, then I'm abdicating before God about my family.
So and I don't want to say this. This is very important. It's not just sphere sovereignty and role of lesser magistrates. It's also, this is why I'm Presbyterian, no offense, but we also need to be able to appeal. Yeah. Because there might be a case, like in this one, where your lesser magistrate makes a rule that he doesn't have the right to make, and you need to have somebody to appeal to.
Yeah.
Right? And in this case, it's the governor.
Yeah.
Right? He said, guess what, guys? I didn't say we can take churches and shut them down.
We noted this already, but in Michigan, it was really striking that there was a Democratic governor who initially put a lockdown on churches. A Christian Republican Speaker of the House appealed to her and said, I think you got this wrong. And she acquiesced.
Wow.
Yeah. She changed the ruling and made exception for churches. And she actually said publicly in her statement that she realized that she didn't have the authority to do that.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
Which is
great.
Acknowledging that separation of church.
Christians, I'm learning something. We need to work on our posturing so that they see that we are actually in submission. Right. Right? We also need to work on our rhetoric. Yeah. Okay? And we need to work on our persuasion. Right. We need to make sure that our arguments to the people that we want to appeal to can be heard to them. Right. And that really helps when your posturing is in. Say, hey, listen, I'm with you, but if we go over this, we're going to fall over the cliff, right? Because that's a cliff right there. I know you don't see it right now because you turn looking at that way, but that's a cliff, so let's not do that, all right? And so if you say that while you're on the same team, they will hear you. Right. But we will first say, I got my gun, and then with our guns, and hey, listen, you take that move, I'm going to shoot you in the head. Like, whoa. Right. We need to make sure our posturing's right, our rhetoric's right, and our persuasion is sweet.
But what if they don't listen to you?
Well, there's
we have to obey God rather than man.
Yeah, right. That's right. But you know what? We jump so fast to the other side without working. We have a way in America we can work. We haven't worked the system in a long time because of we've been educated by them. Right. Yeah, right? We forget there was a system in place.
Yeah, we've been discipled for a long time to submit to them, just unthinkingly.
That's right.
And not actually apply the word of God to all of life.
Listen, that's right.
And not take responsibility for these things.
I got a question, but this might kick us into another 20 minutes here.
Oh, boy.
You're in Washington with Matt Shea, Representative Matt Shea.
And very good friend of mine.
He's great, but he's getting in all kinds of trouble. How do you advise Matt Shea to kind of sort through this? I mean, some of the investigations that happened this last year, he's a lesser magistrate getting in trouble. How do you advise Matt?
He's a good friend of mine, one of our speakers at the Church of Planned Parenthood as well. And, you just got to, he takes a stand for righteousness and lets the chips fall where they may. Yeah. He's not your typical politician that's worried about public approval. Yeah, he just stands on what he believes in, that he believes is the word of God, and lets the chips fall where they may. And that's what I love about him. He is very Trump-esque in that area, but total born-again, amazing believer. Yeah. And he's definitely not a domestic terrorist. I promise you that. Or I wouldn't hang out with him. He's a wonderful Christian man.
No,
beautiful
wife. We've had Matt on the show. We love Matt.
Oh, great.
He's been in the studio, hasn't he?
He has been in the studio. Oh, I don't think he has.
Is our old studio above the piano shop?
That's
I think is
right.
What it was.
Yeah, we had him and another. I can't remember the other guys right now. Well, right now we're ending, but we want to invite you to enjoy Rowdy Christian Media and support Rowdy Christian Media. Go download the app right now at all your favorite app stores. We have a boatload of content, gazillions hours of content. Well, not a gazillion, but lots of content there for you to get. At the Fight Last Feast app or at fightlastfeast.com or at crosspolitic.com. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic. Oh, I didn't tell you about the baptism thing, did I?
You just take them and dunk them, huh?
Well,
we sprinkle.
We don't want to drown,